So there's another scandal now starting to break out in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as we've all found out already about all the scandals there with the daycare centers, with the Medicare fraud. Now they even found out they have a home care crisis fraud where there's a guy who was arrested there for being involved in massive home care fraud for the elderly. He's under arrest, and they're still sending the money to him, millions of dollars, even though he's been arrested. And now they have the new voter crisis that has been brought to attention. They'll tell you it's not a crisis, but I want you to hear some numbers that are going on that went on in 2020 and all the other stuff we know that went on in 2020, but nobody ever talked about Minnesota. So I'm going to talk about it right now, and I want you to put these numbers in your head and really start to think about all the fraud we see going on in Minnesota, that this is definitely a problem. So President Trump lost the vote in Minnesota by 137,000 votes. A little bit more than that. It was closer to like 138,000 votes. But that's what he lost by. It is now we are finding out that Minnesota has a voter voucher same day process in which one person can go and vouch for 8 people on election day that has no ID, no address, nothing like that. And they can vouch for these people, up to 8 people, and just say that they know who they are and they know where they live. So this is actually real. So in 2024, President Trump lost Minnesota, as I said, by just under 138,000 votes. On that day in 2024, they had 296,000 same day voters vote to register with no ID, no one knows who they are, and they all voted. So President Trump lost by just under 5% of the vote in Minnesota, and those same day registrations accounted for 9% of the vote. Now, I can't actually get the number of how many of those people were Democrats, but I'd be for suffice to say, with just a guess, at least 80%. That's what I guess. Because if we remember, when they stopped the count that day in 2020, close to 100% of the votes came in for Joe Biden. So it's just something I'm throwing out there. It's pretty wild that they allowed this in Minnesota. And with all the other fraud we know is going on, it's very interesting that this has been allowed to happen. So we're going to go with the fact that Minnesota says it's okay for anyone to come in same day, have no voter ID, have nowhere that they can prove that they live, and they can just vote as long as someone says they know who they are and they know where they live. Wow.